going through to 1:30 when it's a bit of lunchtime again, but today I cannot stress enough, be back for 2:30 on the dot, because this afternoon when we get really into marketing and stuff, there's a hell of a lot of stuff to cover, and every minute is valuable time wasted if we're not all here. Just to finish up on Hypno-TRICKS, we covered all that stuff before. There's a manual that you can buy, which I recommend you buy if you're going to do any stage stuff or group stuff, called Secrets of Professional Cabaret and Stage Hypnotism by Eddie Burke. Now there's 2 or 3 techniques in there. They're not original to Eddie. They've been used for years and years and years, and I'm briefly going to explain them. But his actual defined wording that he's kind of took it to the next level, which is unique to him and has never been done before, is well worth having. So I'm not going to use his exact wording on this one. This is one I'm afraid you'll have to go to www.mreenterprises.co.uk, which is mentioned in the Hypno-TRICKS manual on one of the CD-ROMs, if you want to refer to it later. But essentially, he explains another concept, another way of apparently, when you're doing group stuff, getting people to end up going away thinking they've had their hands locked together and believing that they've been hypnotised. Again, it doesn't involve any genuine trance. Essentially, in a nutshell, it gets them to do all this bit with their hands. But he's saying, you know, on the count of 1, your hands will be stuck fast, locked, glued, welded, cemented together, whatever way you want to phrase it. His phrasing is particularly good, that's why I say the manual's well worth getting. But the really clever bit, which is what Eddie's took and then moved on with the wording, is something that's been going on for years. Dr. Q's Hypnotics, very similar as well. There's various other manuscripts out there you can get that made reference to it. Loads of different people using it in different ways. They get some with the hands, and it's basically, you know, the count of 1, hands tighter, stiffer. Everyone holding your hands in the air, tighter, stiffer, whatever you're waffling on about. And he'll keep saying tighter and stiffer, and he'll keep just basically waffling on like that for about 30, 40 seconds, enough for it to have dramatic impact. Then he'll quite blatantly turn around, and he's not at any point, as he said, at no point has he said, try and separate your hands. Never ever. Then he'll just blatantly go, that's brilliant, we seem to have a room full of really responsive people. Okay, 1, 2, 3, you can separate your hands now. So everybody opens their hands, because he said, take your hands apart, essentially. Now, after the time delay, later on, when he gets people up and does the so-called induction stuff, later on, by the end of the show, all people remember is that he asked everyone to put their hands together in the air, squeeze them together, and they'd be locked together by the count of 1. And then they have such a hazy recollection that it's like, well, did he or didn't he ask us to try and separate hands? Did I just miss when he asked us to? Or couldn't I actually separate my hands? And they can't say for definite to themselves in their own mind that they couldn't separate their hands at that moment because they never tried separating them at that moment. So there's no way they can logically conclude for definite that they could have separated their hands. So they come to the conclusion that perhaps their hands were locked together. Again, kind of dual reality. And then that leads on to a kind of dual reality induction. So if you've got somebody up here, would you mind just taking a seat here a moment, please? Cheers. Yeah, brilliant, thank you. You've got your row of people or whatever, and I say I'm just going to cover this ever so briefly on the level that everyone's kind of used it. If you want to go in any more depth on this particular technique, then get Eddie's manuscript. He's the one who's really, this particular one, taking it to the full extremes where he can do a complete hour and a half stage hypnosis show group demonstration without even using any of the tricks I covered yesterday and without even using any so-called form of genuine trance. He quite blatantly goes up to the people in front of the audience over the mic and says, would you just close your eyes down so it's easier to concentrate? Please, that's brilliant. And keep your eyes closed at all times. He's done that in full view of the audience over the mic. So they've actually heard him say that. So because if your eyes are closed, you can concentrate better. He then starts doing all the psychobabble that sounds really good to the audience, and obviously to the person on stage makes them believe something real's going on. But the clever bit is then, because he's using a handheld mic, so you get still sound the same, but then he's got the pleasure of being able to remove it. So if he says something, the audience can't hear what he's saying, and don't even notice what he's saying. Plus he has music, the relaxation music playing. So he comes along them and literally whispers in their ear, as they're there, just keep your eyes closed, mate. Obviously not on microphone as I'm doing here. Keep your eyes closed for me, mate. That's brilliant. To help you get into a genuine deep trance. So he's lying to them, essentially, making them believe that everything they're about to do is part of the induction process. So logically they come to the conclusion, well, I need to do this if I want to be hypnotised. So off mic, he's then going across them as Louis, and occasionally he'll do a bit of psychobabble on mic so the audience don't get a chance to realise he's whispering stuff to them. And then again off mic, you'll say to them, oh, that's good. Just put your hands out in front of you, everybody. Put your hands out in front of you. It'll help you relax more. So everyone thinks they've got to put their hands out to help them relax. They think this is part of the induction, but the audience think, as the piano music starts to play, because at that very moment you start the music of a piano, that they've just put their hands out to start playing the piano, and then you go, that's brilliant, just start moving your hands, start playing the piano, and then off mic, you say, off mic, that's brilliant, because as you play your piano, in your mind's eye, it just helps you relax your mind and get closer to being in a lovely trance state. So the person thinks that that's part of the induction process, but because the audience haven't heard what you've said to him, and you've just started the music, they perceive it as you've just said, that's it, brilliant, play your piano, and then off mic you've said, because it's, you know, going to help you relax. So he's just thinking he's doing it to help him relax, and the audience perceive it as, oh my God, he's already playing a piano and he's only been up there a few seconds. Thank you, cheers. I'm not going to go any further on that technique. That's dual reality, which we use on a few of the other things. Essentially, whereby the people up here genuinely believe that what they're doing is for a good reason, and that reason being the pretext of, oh, this is going to help me get into a trance. Half an hour down the line, if you do it the way Eddie explains in his wonderful manuscript, when they're still doing things that are nothing more than perhaps moving their arms, but with piano music and the odd word on mic, yes, play your pianos, and then off mic, it'll help you relax more. All the people on stage by half an hour in are thinking, it's taking a bloody long time for me to get hypnotised. The audience are completely convinced that they're already hypnotised. Could have been doing all manner of things, but the way he cleverly phrases all the other manner of things is something I'll leave to his manuscript, because that's where he took it to the hill, this one. But the joyful part is when you send the people on stage back to the audience, because they then probably talk to one or two people afterwards, they'll say, well, he said to me, keep playing me piano, it'll help me relax. And the audience will say, well, no, it looked like to us he started the piano music and said, play your pianos. And you did. No, trust me, you did. You did, honestly. You did what he told you to do, and all the various other things he explains to do in that trickery manner. And the more the audience are telling him that, he says, well, no, he was telling me. And the audience will say to him, well, of course he was telling you, he said, play your piano. So a total misunderstanding occurs, because the audience perception is their belief, the person's perception up here is their belief, but even if they talk to each other about what's gone on, although they're coming from a totally different context of what went on, they both end up thinking, well, not saying whether I was hypnotised or not. Not that I wasn't, I don't know. Because you've explained at the beginning, it's a different feeling for everybody. People come to the conclusion they've been hypnotised. Certainly all the audience, and the majority of the people, when they end up speaking to the audience afterwards, the audience convinced them that they were hypnotised. Just by the careful phraseology of your saying certain things on mic and certain things off mic. Okie dokie. Now the blowtorch stunt, a cracking one for personal motivation seminars. I'm not going to do it here because otherwise I'd probably set the place on fire. But essentially, to demonstrate, what you get is a blowtorch. The effect is you get a blowtorch, you take somebody, you get them to take the shirt off, you say we're going to make you feel no pain whatsoever, you're going to look wonderful, you get them to stand there like a letter T, so their arms are out in the chest here, right? You tell them, you make sure they volunteer entirely at their own risk, and that they're aware that when they feel no pain, that you are actually going to take a blowtorch to their body and burn all the hairs off their arms and chest. They must know that before you do it, so that they really have volunteered for what's going to take place. Otherwise you could have legal problems. On this occasion you do tell them what's going to happen. But also that sets the audience up to think, bloody hell, he can't do that, this will be bloody amazing, this, if he manages to do that. Because everyone thinks blowtorch, ooh, get burnt with one of them, well hey, very painful. Well, it would be if we used an ordinary, everyday blowtorch. But we don't. You take it to your local friendly metal worker, and where the air holes are at the end, which allows the flame to burn a fierce blue flame, which is what is highly dangerous, you get them to weld metal over the holes, so there is no air, so all it will burn is a bright orangey yellow flame. Now don't get me wrong, fire is dangerous, but yellow flames is just like the top of the lighter. If you leave the blue touching you for too, the blue flame of a blowtorch, which is like the bottom of a lighter, is far hotter than the yellow flame. That will burn you far more. So definitely don't do this with a blowtorch that hasn't been set up right. But they see a blowtorch in your hand, so visually to the audience, that's a real blowtorch. When you light it, there's a really great big flame at the end of it. Think, yep, that's a blowtorch. You might get the odd person who later on thinks, yeah, if you don't do this, for perhaps, a mechanic's Christmas party, because they'll all probably be quite clued up on blowtorches. But your average Joe public member doesn't. But just look at that, big flame. Blowtorch, that's what I perceive a blowtorch to be, big flame. And if they sit them in B&Q and you bought yours from B&Q and then had it doctored, all the more authentic, but it's got the big bloody yellow flame on it, looks dangerous. And at the end of the day, it's just the same as any fire eater who takes a burning firebrand and takes it and runs it evenly so that the yellow is going evenly. Now if I do that evenly, it is burning slowly away my hairs. And you can even go to the point where you're actually touching the skin. And it is burned, but only on the yellow and evenly so, never stopping. And if you're in any doubt that I've actually burnt hairs off my skin, the nasty smell will waft around you all very shortly. The yellow flame of the blowtorch, as long as you move it evenly, just like that, smoothly, and the best way to know the speed to do it is to experiment with the lighter yourself. On yourself, because then if you do it at the same speed that's fine on you, it'll be fine on them. You move it evenly across their arms and the chest. The audience have seen you after you've done all your psychobabble. Do that on them and they'll feel no pain, because all it is a tiny little bit of warmth if it's moved evenly over them. The only thing to pay attention to and be careful of, the only danger is someone's got particularly long chest hair. Okay? So you have on standby a damp face flannel or something like that, yeah? So when you've done your even move across, when it starts singeing the hairs, which then burn quite slowly down, because you've got it evenly, you haven't really set them on fire, they singe down slowly. Now that'll probably take, they're still burning, but if I flick that now, the burnt bit comes off, the stink starts going around, but it stopped burning. So it never gets to the point of touching my skin. So you do your even bit, and then very quickly, your damp flannel, you just one wipe down, just dead casual, so you've gone, And the audience will just assume that, that was just to cool them down afterwards or something. It's just to make sure 100% all the hairs that started burning have gone out. Because that's the only danger with it. Other than stopping at some point for more than second or something with the actual flame. But as long as you get the blowtorch gimmick right, go smoothly, which you can practice yourself with your thing, and then you present it as, you'll feel no pain whatsoever, psychobabble, however you want to put it down, which means that, because you manage that, you can control pain, or which means that you can achieve this in life, which means that you can win your race, whatever. And believe me, to the audience, it is one hell of a memorable thing. Because the fire, the flame's big, it's very dramatic, and the person will go back and say, well yeah, I felt a bit of warmth, but it didn't hurt me. Because everyone's got the impression it's a genuine blowtorch when it's not. Right, get rid of the lighter. Human pincushion. Okay, how can we explain this? Right, the human pincushion is also something that is banned by the 1952 Hypnotism Act. But as we said yesterday, that's completely irrelevant if you go about things in the right way. Again, essentially, all the things are like the human pincushion, even catalepsy, what I did before, a lot of strongmen acts in the circus many, many years ago would be allowed themselves to be the person to go across the back of the chairs to demonstrate what a strong person they were, just presented that bit differently. Now circus acts, especially the yogis, and I know this from first-hand experience because my dad was the only speciality act in the world to ever work 3 years in a row at Bellevue Circus doing a yogi act, bed of nails, fire eating and all that kind of stuff. So I got this information from someone who's done it in the real world. Human pincushion looks, again, dramatic and dangerous. You must let the people know what is going to happen in advance so that they have consented. Because otherwise, it's technically assault if you did it without asking them. It will be a criminal offence. Forget the Hypnotism Act, it will be a criminal offence. It's alright if they've consented. You must use sterilised, sealed at the time when you undo them, hypodermic needles. For, I think, pretty obvious reasons that I don't need to go into, all the health-related risks involved. And in an ideal world, when you're doing it, when you open that packet, you've either just washed your hands, which obviously Darren Brown would have had the luxury of filming a television piece, but if you're doing a live show and it's part way through, or a demonstration, you might not have that luxury at the time, so at least use surgical gloves, so that when you do open the needle, you're not going to get cross-infection or anything like that. Take all the usual, logical, sensible precautions. But that's not really, it's got no connection to whether the stunt's dangerous, it's just the normal health, logical steps you would take. Now, the yogis to stick them through all different areas of the body. In fact, they use bloody meat skewers, quite frankly, some of them. And it's nothing, whether they use a meat skewer, or as I would advise you use a hypodermic sterilised needle like Darren Brown did, the principle why it works is exactly the same. It's just that with a sterilised needle, firstly, it's quite clear to the person who's volunteered that you're taking all the necessary precautions when you're going to be sticking it through them. And secondly, it goes through the skin one hell of a lot easier than a meat skewer does, or a hat pin. And thirdly, it comes out a hell of a lot easier than a skewer does. Because believe me, I've took needles, and if you get your skin, and this is what I'm going to have to demonstrate, so you're going to see my unsightly chest. Everyone somewhere has got somewhere where they've got a bit that's, you know, fleshy, blue skin. And if you watch any of these yogis, wherever they stick the needle is always where they've got some loose skin. The reason being, and I'll explain it in the context, how many people saw Darren Brown stick the needle through the back of somebody's hand? Quite a few, yeah? Basically, made them feel no pain, stuck the needle through the back of the hand while they were looking at the hand. Now how did he do it? Quite simple. All the psychobabble, which sounded really good because it's exactly what NLP will tell you to do about, as I put, that hand there, which is disassociation. Just notice, feel it's dead, it's like a lump of dead meat. That is what NLP will tell you to do. So it does look believable, and that's why people come to us and go, oh, Darren, yes, NLP. And he did do an NLP course. But it's more simpler than that. You take the fleshy part of the back of somebody's hand, and you obviously only pick a volunteer who's got plenty of loose flesh on the back of the hand. Anyone who's seen the video of that would testify the guy's skin came up nice fair distance away from his hand when it was pulled. When that is pulled, it is pinched at the same time. You can do this to yourself. Pinch some skin up. Some of you will be able to do it, some of you might not have enough loose skin, in which case obviously you wouldn't get used for a stunt like this. You pinch it up and squeeze really tight with your finger and thumb, and keep that pressure on, and after a few seconds it doesn't really hurt, does it? After a few seconds. It gets to the point where you can bear it, just the pinch of your finger and thumb, keeping it there. I mean, it's not a major thing. In the grand scheme of things, compared to the thought of having a needle stuck through your hand, it's no big deal. While he then keeps hold of the finger, with his finger and thumb of the skin, is when he's does all the psychobabble, and then says, take the needle. Now, he does it the first time, pulls it through. You put it through. The bottom line is, however much psychobabble you use, the most painful thing about it all is getting the loose bit of skin, pulling it up and pinching it as tight as you can, which they feel, because you say, did you feel that? Right, now we're going to make it so you don't feel any pain in your hand. When you put the needle through, it's going, you push it through where the raised area of loose skin is. And a hypodermic needle goes through very easily. When you let go of the skin, and as it's going through, it's not painful, because the most painful thing is where your finger and thumb is. Now some would say it's because you can't think of two things at once, and if you're feeling pain there, on the skin between the finger and thumb, that's why you're not going to feel the pain next to it. True to an extent, but as long as it's pinched, and they've felt that pain which now is bearable, when you put that needle through, because it's loose fleshy skin, and it's away from the hand, and the only pressure they can feel, not pain, pressure is where the pinch is, the needle goes through dead easy, then it lets go. Now when you let go of that fleshy skin, when you've lifted it up, you've bunched it up, when you let go, it spreads out. So when you take your hand away, it looks like the needle's going from, like maybe a... Do this with a bright pink marker. Can you just pinch my skin up like that, so I can book two? Okay. Yeah, that's brilliant. So if we were to perhaps take it there, and then there, which is on the loose skin area, when it is then let go of, one end of the needle where it's gone in is over here, visually, and one end is over there, and it looks like it's stuck all that distance through the hand. What it looks like visually, and people get the perception it's really rammed through the hand. All it's really rammed through is that small area of loose, fleshy skin. So when it comes to taking it out, you notice, he makes sure he pinches it back up so that it's coming out of the same small area of loose skin, which is also the reason why the person doesn't bleed. And it's very rare that you see circus performers that go to the extent of using skewers and sticking them through the throat, which is a fleshy area, but I wouldn't advise doing that on anyone in public, because there's much more danger there because of, well, your throat, obviously, right? But they do it, these circus yogis, and they do it with meat skewers, they pull it out. Alright, then they get 1 or 2 little drops of blood and then they wipe it away, but they're using bloody thick, big meat skewers. But everyone goes away saying, it was amazing! The person didn't feel any pain and there was no blood. It controlled the bleeding. Try it on yourself before you try it on somebody else. Basically, just pinch your skin like you did. Get someone you trust implicitly, mark your skin first if you want, to put it through. It does not hurt. The thing that hurts is the pinching of the skin in the first place. And that is why when you see the yogis, that even they will pull the skin where they are first and pull it in, if you like, desensitize it first, so that the feeling that at the front before they start sticking the needles through. And it is as simple as that. The rest is presentation, all about that dead hand there. It's like a lump of dead meat. Just psychobabble again. Right, human pincushion, that's the same as, because Orman says in the new Encyclopedia of Stage Hypnotists under dramatic stunts, he says, oh, you can hypnotise people and lie them on beds of nails, and they'll feel no pain. Bed of nails, my dad, who's not a particularly big guy, has lay on them all around the world, and then had very heavy members of the audience stand on top of him, and it is not painful. As long as you make your prop right in the first place. Instructions of which are on the CD-ROM you've got, telling you the distance to hammer the nails in, how to round them so they're not actually sharp, they just look sharp, they're not, but still dramatic when you drop a melon on and it goes and it's hard to get off. And how to distribute, how it's all weight distribution, because when you lay the person down correctly, evenly, which you would obviously do to them in the context of them being hypnotised, so you will be guiding them in such a manner, which is down and on, the step-by-step diagrams on the CD-ROM. Their weight is distributed across the heads of hundreds of rounded nails. Hundreds of them. People perceive nails dangerous weight on her. Just like the catalepsy. But there's so many more supports and all the weights distributed between them all. Now when you take them off, they will have tiny little rounded dents in the back. Well, that's the key point, rounded. Because you've had them professionally rounded, okay? Rounded off, so they're not sharp. People see and go, bloody hell, yeah, that must have been bad. But even when the person stands on again, one foot on the main area of the chest and one lower down, so it's distributing the weight the same way as catalepsy, there's no danger. My dad's still here. You know, he hasn't killed him, he's not suddenly gone bollocked down on all the nails. It's pure and utter physics again, just like all the greatest circus acts. The irony of it is the ones that look dangerous and the ones that look as though they're not dangerous generally are the ones that can kill you. Trust me, I was born on circus, I'm speaking from the horse's mouth. The stuff that doesn't look dangerous is the stuff that can kill you. The stuff that is dangerous has very simple, logical explanations, but it's the presentation, the framework you put it within, and in Darren's case, using wonderful NLP terminology that more and more people, both in the magic world and the general public, are becoming more familiar with and becoming conditioned to believe can do those type of things. And it's nothing more than just pinching the skin. 4-chair catalepsy, we've got to do 1:15. Can they bring us 4 stools down we need for that? Hypno-heat. Right, there used to be a product on the market which was particularly useful for group seminars, or even one-to-one, just as a complete, the best convincer on the planet. You could even go up to somebody who said, I don't believe in hypnosis, you'll never hypnotise me, I'm the world's biggest skeptic. Do this on them. And at the end of it, they would swear blind that you were the best hypnotist on the planet. And it involved asking somebody if they smoked, if they did smoke, taking some foil from the cigarette packet, if they didn't smoke, asking them to get some tin foil from the kitchen. And then just giving it them and rolling it up and asking them to hold on to it. And he said, close your hand, I'm going to suggest to you and prove the power of hypnosis. It's going to get hotter with every second that passes by, getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So hot in a few months' time you will not be able to hold that. You don't believe me, do you? And they'll be going, no, it's not going to work on me. Okay? Hotter, 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 hotter. And in about, 20 seconds, sometimes a little bit slower, sometimes a little bit faster, they would drop that to the floor as quickly as they could, because it would feel so bloody red hot. Unfortunately, it used a chemical called mercury bichloride, which was supplied in powdered form, and it was sold under the name of hot heat. Well, various different names, but most recently it was hot heat, and you got it in an envelope with a picture on the front, and a few little like white granular tablet things, which we were then supposed to dampen and kind of soak a sponge with and carry around that in a film container cartridge in your pocket, so you could just wipe your thumb across it whenever you wanted, and then wipe it onto the foil. When you wiped it onto the foil, and I'm not advising anyone to get hold of mercury bichloride and do this, because that's why they took it off sale, because mercury, if it gets through your skin, can kill you. But if, you know, this is how it's done, should anyone of their own free risk manage to get hold of the hot tea, which I believe there's one little shop in Blackpool that shall remain nameless that's still got a few supplies of the stuff. Search the internet. If you wipe your thumb down it, it's you that are danger, incidentally, not the member of the public you do the trick on. From the mercury, it's you yourself, because you're the one who actually physically touches it. But you wipe it, you wipe the foil, you screw it up, put it in the hand, and they close the hand. It takes a while for the chemical reaction to take place inside the foil. But it does heat it up to such a level that if the person, there's no way on this planet they can keep hold of it. Because the longer it stays in the hand, it gets heated up so much that if they did feel complete nutter, and try and keep hold of it, which nobody ever does because of the heat it does get to, they'd end up with 30-degree burns. But they've always dropped it before then because it's such a shock that, oh my God, this person is suggesting this to me and it's just worked. And the beauty of it is, the moment it's been dropped to the floor and the air's got to it, a few seconds later it's cooled down. So you can walk over and pick it up, and because you're not burnt, they think, it was all suggestion. And then you can give it back again, and when they close the hand around it, and there's no air there, after another time delay again, it will happen. And then obviously you dispose of the tin foil in some safe manner so that people can't get hold of it, and go and wash your hands, because you've got mercury bichloride on your thumb, which if it gets into your bloodstream could kill you. That's why they took it off sale. But if you can get the chemical, that is the best convincer on the planet to anyone in any context, any time, any place, anywhere, that you're a real hypnotist and it doesn't involve any hypnosis whatsoever. Get at the back.
Our friend from Cardiff has actually got some liquid stuff. You can still get it, just told me. I still use this, it's about.
You can still get it, but you're not supposed to be able to. Because trading standards went into a lot of magic retail outlets that were selling it and took it off them. But if it's still out there, it's called Hypno-E. I don't know, there might be other names for it now. They might have got round it. But it is the most impressive thing you can possibly do when you attach it to the, which means that I obviously can hypnotise you. And you've got the biggest sceptic in the room, you've done that on them. They can't go away and say anything, and everyone's witnessed them going, ah, bloody hell, that's all. And then a couple of seconds later, you can pick it up and you're okay. So nobody ever thinks of chemicals. It's the perfect con trick to establish your credibility as a hypnotist. If you wish to take that route entirely at your own risk, the risk is to you, the mercury bichloride getting into your body and killing you. However, recently, published on an open forum on the internet in America, and now on just about every flipping free access internet site that there is in the public domain, there came a little bit of a solution, a little bit of a safe way to emulate a similar routine. Nowhere near as impressive, but similar. And that is to buy yourself, now this is the hardest bit in England, as yet I've not been able to source where to buy this stuff from. But I know in the States you can, and that's Wrigley's Big Red Cinnamon Chewing Gum.
My favourite.
Right, well I've not been able to find where to get it from yet, but I've had this physically done on me by somebody, and it does work this, but you need to get Wrigley's Big Red Chewing Gum, and also a packet of Wrigley's normal chewing gum. And before you go to your performance, you take the wrappers, the paper wrappers, apart, slide them off all the chewing gums, and keep one pile there, cinnamon, one pile spearmint. You take the paper wrappers off, you unwrap the chewing gum very carefully from the foil, and you place the spearmint chewing gum stick inside the cinnamon chewing gum foil. And then you take that package and put it inside the spearmint paper wrapper. So to all intents and purposes, that's a Wrigley spearmint gum stick. It's got the right paper, the right contents, but the foil has come off the cinnamon one. The completed set goes into the Wrigley Spearmint gum packet. So when you casually pull it out of your pocket, somebody's seen before Wrigley Spearmint gum, just open one up. In fact, would you eat that for me? And you give it them. Because there's a full stick of Wrigley Spearmint gum, and when they chew it, very quickly, the dominant flavour they get is spearmint. So as far as they're concerned, that is Wrigley Spearmint gum. So that's the convincer again. You then take the foil and you just rub it on the side of a beer glass. That is the side of the foil you rub is where the original cinnamon chewing gum was touching it all the time, and it's been packaged from the factories, right? And you know the light dew you get on the side of a beer glass, gentle wetness, you just wipe it across there. And you say, I'm going to prove to you I can put suggestions in your mind. And you press it, the damp side, to the forehead. You get them to stare you directly in the eye. The dampness reacts with the sweat on the skin with the cinnamon. It takes different lengths of time with different people, but so you keep talking your psychobabble so that till they basically start to get irritated, but it's going to become so uncomfortable, it's going to get so hot, you're going to have to take it off. And ultimately, after a while, it'll irritate the skin so much that they will take it off. And they will, then once they've took it off, you say, in fact, it's going to still irritate you without the foil. The only way you can stop it is to go and put some cold water on your head, which essentially is a very clever way of telling them to go and wash any excess of cinnamon off the forehead and get rid of all the evidence of how the trick was done. Now that does work, but you've got to be able to get Wrigley's big red cinnamon gum. It's not quite as impressive as the mercury bichloride method, but you ain't going to accidentally kill anybody using it. And if you use it in the context of which means that, again, it becomes relevant. Okie dokie. Very quick, Chris. Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything to make you back up. Just sit in the chair, that's brilliant. Can you just sit forward a bit in the chair? Yeah? Just put your feet out like that, that's wonderful. Just tilt your head well back. At this point, you do all your psychobabble. Close your eyes, blah, 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 blah. You're getting very, very weak indeed. And you get one other member of the group to come and just lay very lightly one finger on the forehead in that position. And then you'd say, okay, you're so weak now, just try and stand up. Just try and stand up, keeping your feet like that. Basically, it's physically impossible, the position you put them in. Just the resistance of one finger in that position, because the head's back here, and to try and push the pressure, light pressure I've got on my finger there, his neck's not strong enough to bring that up. And in the natural act of trying to stand up, he wants to bring his head up. And because he can't, all his energy's focused on trying to bring his head up, so he can't even do any more. The feet have got to be slightly forward away from the chair, and they've got to be sat towards the front of the chair, so that when you lean the head back, the body becomes angled, almost at a 45-degree angle towards the back of the chair, so that that very light resistance makes it impossible for them to stand up. And you can then go, which means that you are incredibly able to do X, Y, Z. Okay, Chris, cheers. We'll stay around. We only have one. Yeah, we only have 2 more hypno-tricks before we get on to therapy. Or 3 when they bring the chairs. Okie running to time. Anyone see Darren Brown do the hypnotised boxer routine? Stand up, Chris, go on. Which basically was in a boxing ring, and he had somebody stood there and he said, okay, lift them up. And they did. And then he's going on, the showmanship. Now you can't lift them up. And 9 times out of 10, because he did actually on that one show the times it didn't work as well, to his credit, in the final edit. Because it works most of the time, but not all of the time. Then they suddenly couldn't lift the same person that they'd lifted a few seconds before. Basically the secret that my dad was talking about earlier, that this guy used to make a complete 12-minute act out of. So, what I want you to do, you get them to stand, whoever's going to be stood there, you've got to cue them as to how to stand. The way it came out on the edit is like they stood there and they're trying to lift them. You've got to cue them, but you, obviously on TV you can edit that bit out. Live, you've physically got to say to them how to stand, so I'll be the person who's going to get lifted. So you get them to stand so that their hands are kind of like this and their elbows are there, which is where you're going to say to the people, you know, use that to lift me up, and then just lift me up. I know you might not be able to lift me that high, but you'll be able to, no, you can. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm doing the actual secret there. It's alright, lift me up. Right, you should be able to lift me now. Just a bit, go on, you will. I forgot your back's buggered, innit? Go on, I've got somebody, you can lift me, that's the correct position for being able to lift me, come on. Your back, somebody whose back isn't buggered. Dan, come here. It helps if I show you being able to lift me before I go into the position for not being able to be lifted. Yeah, right, okay. And he didn't lift me up for that long, but if you watch the tapes of the Darren Brown thing again, they quickly edit between the two. It's only a matter of a few seconds, because it's difficult. But it's not impossible, as long as you get the person to stand upright, straight, in that position so that they can be lifted like that, or even under their armpits. But when you want to become non-liftable, make sure you get them to stand so they're slightly feet apart and lean slightly off balance back. So I'm leaning more towards Dan now than I was the first time round. But people don't pay much attention to that. Now when he tries to lift me, he should now find that because of the position I'm in, he's putting one hell of a lot more weight of resistance at the angle I am, making it impossible for him to lift me. And then if you want him to be able to lift the person again, obviously say, whisper in their ear, stand up straight now. Although this guy, mass guy years ago, he would be the person, he'd do it like I've got a powerful mind, and get people from the audience, and he'd be the person who was lifted, and then couldn't be lifted, and get increasingly bigger guys from the audience to do it on. And the laughter came because these really big, tough-looking guys who came up and lifted him no problem when he stood in the straight-up position. Suddenly, when he just barely perceptible, slight lean back, couldn't lift him, and they're trying for all the might, and the look on their faces, and how pissed off they get. That's where the laughter came from the audience. And it is as simple as that, and that's explained with detailed diagrams in the pamphlet Resistance Secrets that you've got. There is another way of doing it where you're face to face with people, if you want to make them be able to lift you up easier. So, lift me however you want, basically. However you want. Oh, yeah, brilliant, okay. And then I'd say, I just need to climb inside your mind, that's wonderful. I just need to concentrate my thoughts into the inside of your mind. Okay, that's brilliant. Now I want you to try and lift me again. Just try and lift me again and you'll find it so much. No, really, try. Now people come to the conclusion it's because I'm saying try or whatever it is. The second time I made sure that my feet are slightly further apart, okay, and I'm giving this psychobabble, I'm putting thoughts into your mind, whether it's I'm putting psychic thoughts in or I'm giving you suggestions now to make it look like hypnosis, and I just gently place a fingertip, very gently, on both sides of his neck. Very gently, hardly any pressure. Whenever he tries to lift me then, and I'm leaning slightly, ever so slightly towards him, if he tries to lift me, try but come what may, as long as that's there. If he starts being able to lift me, then I'd put a tiny bit more pressure on. But 9 times out of 10, you don't need to put hardly any pressure at all. The angle, combined with that, the mind feeling your fingers there, is enough to make it that they just can't lift you.
What does the pressure do?
The pressure does nothing more there than distract them from being able to lift you. It's as simple as that. The main part is just the direct opposite of being that way, where you lean slightly further back, is that this way you lean slightly further forward and your feet go a little bit wider apart, so you've got more stance, weight distribution then. And that's as simple as that, for doing it face to face. We'll take a seat.
That's similar to a technique used in Kung Fu.
Pardon? Sorry.
Kung Fu, some of the techniques for disabled people use the techniques like that, where you actually physically touch the person if he's grabbing hold of you.
Yeah, and he lets them make you let go.
Obviously, there's more where you press your thumb into your bicep.
Yeah, and you obviously put a fair bit of pressure on.
Yeah, but you know, you can put, I actually saw that demonstrated by a very, very small guy on a large guy, and he actually disabled him just by touching him.
Yeah?
And he said there's no pressure on him.
Well, yeah, there was probably a lot nearer to the
Yeah.
carotid artery area there. That is nowhere near the carotid artery, just gently on the side of the neck. Because the carotid artery can actually kill you, so that we don't go anywhere near that. Yeah, difference. Oh, sorry, I just saw your angle like that. I thought, okie dokie, we're supposed to have 4 stuff, but I wanted to finish off. Oh, good man! Brilliant! Time just right. Because we're just going to finish off on the final hypno trick before lunch, and then this afternoon we get straight onto, I hope, yes, therapy. We're running to time. And then by the other afternoon session we'll be on to all the marketing and all that kind of stuff. Hurrah, we are actually running to time. In fact, can you just sit there a moment, Dan, 'cause I need to put these 4 chairs out. Now I call this 4-person catalepsy. It's actually something they do in some team building work for some corporate companies. It's nothing to do with hypnosis, but if you ask them to close their eyes and let their heavy head go forward and give it that presentational viewpoint, and people will come to the conclusion that it's worked because you hypnotise the person. But this is being used, you know, every day in some management bloody training course. They should be exactly the same height in an ideal world, but not, but we'll try it, but they should be exactly the same height. And what I need is 4 people who do not have bad backs or a history of back complaints. There's no danger with this whatsoever, it's just I don't want people who can't comfortably lie back. Simple as that. So Dan, you've accidentally volunteered. Thank you. Fireman, I'll make you look good, love. I promise. Excuse me, would you? Oh no, your back's buggered, isn't it? Come on, yeah, give it a go, come on. Yeah, give him a round of applause for coming up, we'll just your feet in a minute. Now I first thought this done, I mean I've seen it done at management trainings, and that's the context it'll probably be useful to you in corporate scenarios, sales, motivational and stuff. It's also good for doing at the conclusion of a so-called stage hypnosis show, because it's even more impressive from an audience point of view than standard catalepsy. And yet this is 100 times safer, 100 times easier to do than normal catalepsy. Right, now we just need to sit you correctly for this. So that's wonderful. You sit like that with your hands like that. Brilliant, upturned. We want you, if you can, sir, to just sit facing me like that. Just sit back in your stool. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Wonderful, like that. You're sat like that, just sit back a little bit in your stool, bring your stool forward. That's brilliant, just like that. And I'd like you to face this direction, sir. Face there. Everyone okay with the legs, yeah? No leg problems or anything like that? That's something you do need to check with this. That's the only potential complication. Feet together. Brilliant. Feet together. Feet together. Lovely. Lovely. Okay. Then you do your psychobabble. I'm not going to bother with the psychobabble here, guys. So keep your eyes open. You may as well. On stage or in a group scenario, you'd say, you know, just so long as you keep your eyes closed, you'll feel no discomfort whatsoever. And then off microphone, you'd tell everybody the truth as you were walking around. But I'll do it on microphone. The truth of the fact is, fellas, there's no hypnosis involved in this. Just keep your eyes closed. That's what I say to them, but you can keep them open. It doesn't matter. It's pure and utter physics, and you're actually going to be supporting each other. It's something that circus acrobats sometimes do, except they don't actually use the chairs to start off with, because they can manage to get into the positions without the use of the chairs. We're just going to put you in that natural, where you're supporting each other position. So what I want you to do, probably best if you lift your hands up in the air. Lift your hands up in the air, that's wonderful. Lean back on, you might need to move your chair just slightly back in your chair, or slightly forward with the stool. Lean back onto this person's lap, okay? And then lay your hands down on his lap, and you just keep hold of his shoulder. You say, keep hold of your shoulder. And you say, lean back there, hands up in the air, lean back there, onto his lap, hands down, keep hold of him there. But the audience don't hear you saying, keep hold of him there. And then you say, hands there, you lean back, sir. Wonderful. Put your hands down, Keep hold of him. No, slightly further over so you're not getting his neck. Are you alright there with your neck? Brilliant, you check with him. And keep hold of the people as you've got them where they are. Keep your feet firmly together so you're keeping your legs nice and firm, which again you wouldn't be saying all the time so the audience can hear. Most of this will be off mic. Keep in that position. We're only going to take the stools away for a few seconds, so lean back. But your body weight's going to support each other, okay? Yeah. And grab just a bit there. Brilliant. The hardest bit is to get the stools out, so we'll go here, number one. It's alright, you guys stay where you are, I'll be able to get them out, but you'll find as long as you just keep your knees in that position, keep hold of each other, you'll be able to stay nice and stiff. That's brilliant, person number one. As long as you keep your legs in that position, you'll be able to stay nice and stiff, keep hold, nice and stiff, nice and stiff. That's wonderful there. And as long as you keep holding that position, you'll be able to keep hold nice and stiff. Trust each other, it's just team building. As long as you keep hold of each other, it's fine. Nothing can occur. And then we take out the really last one, which is the most bloody difficult. Lean your head well back. Brilliant. You take it away, you go forward, you take your round of applause and say, keep in that position, guys. Everyone give some round of applause. Then we put the chairs back in the position. So we've got chair number one, chair number two, going back in the direction you took them out. Chair number three, chair number four. Everyone's now firmly got chairs, and then you can go, wake, everybody, you can help in your chairs. Give them a huge round of applause. It goes back to the audience. It's now lunchtime. Everybody here back prompt 2:30. Essentially that, if you do exactly what I did, it works. It's just physics. Cheers.